Well, it's a little bit quicker than last year, which was about, what, 5:38. I'm going to just get in on that. Jermaine Stevens, Mel, at 3:37. Wow.
And a cut 3:37 really looks like a basketball player. Chris, you watch him here. This is in the Senior Bowl, and this is a guy who was a former prep defensive tackle. Didn't play offensive tackle until 1993, and you can see even technically, he has it. He's a guy that really brings an attitude to a football team, very explosive football player. Tended to relax a little bit at North Carolina A&T. Here he's going up against Howard University, so the competition factor he's going to have to adjust to, knowing that every time that ball snaps, he's going to be at peak efficiency, and he's going to have to really concentrate. But in terms of physical ability, he's got it all. He compares favorably to an Eric Williams. The only difference, Eric Williams was a 3. Jermaine Stevens, the Steelers are gambling one at the end of the first round.
Let's go up to Chris Fowler and company for their thoughts on the Steelers going with a large man from a rather smaller school. Chris?
Yeah, a very large man, and now a guy for Stevens to block for in Jerome Bettis, getting him from the Rams. Mike Lombardi, that's now a done deal. What are the details?
Well, what happens is the Rams have traded Jerome Bettis to the Steelers, and the Steelers have acquired the Rams' second-round pick. The Rams also have the Steelers' second-round pick, so they flopped in the second, and the Steelers are going to have to give up a 3 or 4 next year in the draft. So the Steelers have Jerome Bettis. He's talked to by Bill Cowher, and he's a member of their organization.
And a difference of 17 slots in that second-round pick now. Is that good value plus the conditional pick next year for a guy who was a former Rookie of the Year?
Well, I think what you have to look at is how many teams are actually interested in Jerome and how many could fit him into their cap comfortably. And what's happened in the event of the cap is it's hard to trade players because they don't necessarily always fit. So based on the value of this trade, I think Pittsburgh's got themselves a hard runner who can gain 1,000 yards for them, and he can make plays for them. So, and the Rams got rid of a cap number for them, which is helpful for them too.
Super Bowl champs on the clock. Meanwhile, we've talked about Dallas. You think they may be in a little bit of a difficult situation with some guys they liked already gone. Let's kick it down to the Las Colinas area where Chris Myers is standing by. Chris, what do you know?
Well, Chris, we're at Valley Ranch. They did like the linebackers, Mobley, Brown. Those players are gone. They're giving some discussion to Tony Brackens, the defensive lineman out of Texas. However, the Cowboys have targeted another defensive player. They are discussing possibly trading out of that pick. As you get a look live at the War Room, Jerry Jones discussing that. By trading out of the first round into the second, they still might be able to get their player and save $200,000 or $300,000 against the cap. Another issue, something to look for down the line, on June 24th, Michael Irvin will be in court for the indictment on possession charges of cocaine and marijuana. Now, he's not expected to miss any practice time or training camp, but earlier I talked to Barry Switzer about possibly Michael Irvin's situation affecting the Cowboys drafting a wide receiver.
Going into the draft, Chris, it was not a consideration. We didn't even, that was never even discussed, but a lot of people have asked the question, and Jerry and I discussed it at lunch, and Larry Laceville, about what if a great receiver all of a sudden fell. We would be very sensitive about it, but, obviously you got to do what's best for the football team. And Michael, I think, would understand that. Deion would understand that. I don't think that scenario would happen, but we would be very sensitive to that, but it wouldn't be because we have a concern about Michael Irvin.
And you get a look at Barry Switzer live in the Dallas Cowboy War Room, as again they are thinking defense right now. One of the reasons they're not so worried about wide receiver is because Deion Sanders, remember, is a full-time football player for the team this year, and Jerry Jones told me that you'll see a lot more of Deion Sanders on offense at wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll let you know as soon as they make their selection or trade out of that opening round. Let's go to Chris Berman now in New York.
All right, Chris, thank you. Under 7.5 minutes to go on the Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys. Then the Jets are up, and the crowd gets back into the ball game very, very quickly. Stay with us.
I'm always on the road, so I use my calling card every day. But MCI friends and family only covered my card calls to home, so I got AT&T True Reach Savings. Now, wherever I'm calling, I'm totally covered. Now, that's being backed up.
AT&T True Reach Savings. Save 25% on all types of U.S. calls on your AT&T phone bill when you spend just $25 a month. Proofs on the bill.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Savings on all kinds of calls. That's your true choice. AT&T.
What's late?
No news.
Satellite imagery. Aviation forecasts.
Still waiting, sir.
The high-tech training of the weather crew is critical to over 5,000 sailors on this carrier.
Any word yet?
Yes, sir.
Right now, however, their expertise is important for a different reason.
This just in. Weather for our Liberty in Honolulu will be
sunny with temperatures in the 90s.
For more information about high-tech training all over the world, call 1-800-USA-NAVY.
I am a fiber scientist. DuPont created the synthetic fiber industry. We have built thousands of different shapes of fibers, clothing that feels better in the heat. DuPont Coolmax in the cold. DuPont thermostat. It's important to make them better. We are just now learning how to make synthetic fibers that look and feel like wool, yet still can be washed in a washing machine. If there's no law in physics between me and my goal, I can get there. DuPont.
Michael?
Yes?
If you love me, you'd wear one.
Oh, come on, Christy.
Oh, here. I'll even put it on for you.
All right.
By helping you breathe through your nose and not your mouth, Breathe Right nasal strips can help quiet your snoring.
Good night.
Night. Wear one to bed to show how much you care. Breathe Right strips in cough and cold sections everywhere.
A little over 5 minutes ago for the Dallas Cowboys to make a pick. Last year, first round, it was Sherman Williams, which is why it won't be Leland McElroy, a player that is certainly close to home for him, but they have that type of backing up Emmitt Smith, and he's a youngster they did last year. Let's go down to Miami. Chris Mortensen, where do you think Dallas is headed, Mort?
Well, you know, Chris, they were going to have representatives with 4 different linebackers today. Remember, they like to do those draft day deals with the team on the clock and kind of get a guy to sign a deal before the pick is up. Well, yesterday, Commissioner Paul Tagliabue sent a memo to all clubs saying, as you can see here, a member club has inquired whether it would be permissible for a club to have its representatives physically present with one or more potential draftees during draft day. The answer is that it would not, at least until after the player has actually been selected by the club and his selection has been publicly announced at draft headquarters. Next, permitting club attendance in a player's home or elsewhere in his presence would invite several negative consequences. First, it would facilitate actual violations of the prohibitions on negotiation, give and take financial discussions, or making contract offers to players before they are selected. You see the little memo there. Second, it would cause widespread and corrosive suspicion that such violations are occurring, even if they are not. Third, it would effectively coerce other clubs to follow suit rather than risk being placed at a perceived competitive disadvantage. If they did so, truly chaotic situations would inevitably result. No legitimate purpose that could be served by being in the company of draft-eligible players justifies such negative consequences. You are therefore advised that if any club's representative is proven to have been physically present with a draft-eligible player or his representative, family member, or friend prior to the player's actual selection in the draft, the club will be subject to serious disciplinary action by this office for conduct detrimental to the league. Now, clearly, that was pointed at the Dallas Cowboys, and it goes back not just to contract people, and you can see the Cowboys here, not just the contract signings, but the Cowboys used to have representatives with 10, 11, 12 players, and what this would do was if another team was calling a player to say, we think we're going to take you, that would give Dallas a chance to jump up ahead of that team and take that actual player. So there were some competitive advantages with the draft as it pertains to having a representative present. That's a no-no in this draft. Let's go back to Chris in New York.
And Mort reading some serious, as we call in the business, Chiron. He's bucking for that host position, I can tell. Let's go to Craig James. Craig, where do you think the Cowboys are headed here as they have about 2.5 minutes left on their pick?
Well, a couple of points here, listening to everybody talk about this situation. Michael Irvin is a competitor. He will come back. That's going to be his only release, getting away from all the distractions that he's created for himself. Deion Sanders last week told me he's working extremely hard on being a wide receiver. He's at it every day. He's at Valley Ranch trying to become a better wide receiver. Point taken there is that Sterling Sharp says he can't be both ways as a starter. True. They are not sure that Kevin Williams is their guy, and he can do it week in and week out. As for defense, linebacker is a very sore issue with the Dallas Cowboys. They have tried to shore that up with some acquisitions here in the offseason, but I know in talking to a lot of the teammates last year, the middle linebacker spot was a weakness on their ball club. To verify it and even prove it, I went and talked to other teams and opponents of the Cowboys. They said the Cowboys are soft in the middle. You can run the ball and knock their linebackers out of there. So I think the Cowboys have to be very sensitive to that situation right now. That's why I think Tony Bracken's a defensive lineman. I like Bracken's a lot, and I would consider him, Chris.
All right, Craig, we'll see what the Cowboys are going to do. Chris Myers, we go back down to Big D, and you had suggested if guys weren't there that they would move out. We've had 6 first-round trades thus far. If Dallas makes it, it'll be 7. There have been some trades, and Dallas always comes to mind.